Last week we talked about the mere exposure effect, and about how just seeing something or being exposed to it is often enough to make you like it, even if that exposure happens on such a fast timescale that you're not even aware that you've been exposed to it. So, interesting bit of trivia, this is actually a topic that I had thought about and wrote the script for about 2.5 years ago. I even had made the video, made the production, all those sorts of things. However, the video crashed at about 20 hours of production into it, and I just lost everything, and I was just so discouraged that I didn't even want to make it again. But after about 2.5 years, I thought it was time to revisit it and see what you guys thought about it, and you guys had some great thoughts. Joxius E asked 2 questions. The first wondering whether or not it'd be possible to just slowly erode at somebody through the usage of a mere exposure effect, right? Like I had said that you can't do this to be able to kind of drastically change someone's personality immediately, but he was wondering whether or not you could do this through sort of a slow, deliberative process, you know, like water eroding away at stone. Second, he asked if there were any positive benefits that could come about through the usage of mere exposure. The answer to the first question is no, and in order to understand that, you have to kind of think of what the scope of the effect actually is. What the effect does is make you feel more positively towards a stimulus than perhaps a competing one does. But feeling positive towards it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to fall in love with it. Like, you could be flashed Domino's pizza repeatedly, and it's not going to necessarily make you head over heels like that's the only thing that you're ever going to buy. Part of that comes from the fact that, as I mentioned before, there is overexposure, right? If you're exposed to something too frequently, you start to turn against it. But there's something to be said about the power of habit, about accumulated advantage, and things of that nature. So perhaps feeling positive towards something initially would be enough to make you maybe loyal to that brand for life, because you've then just purchased it once, and it's enough to make you feel like you need to purchase it again, and then that habit builds upon itself, and you go again and again, and that's your favorite thing. That's your favorite widget. But what's going on there is that it's a confluence of psychological phenomena, and not necessarily just the mere exposure effect by itself. I don't think the mere exposure effect is powerful enough on its own to really change someone's life, their worldview, or, you know, their habits, their purchasing habits, or whatever. With regards to the second question, and in contrast with the first, my hunch here is that yes, you possibly could have positive effects coming from this. I couldn't necessarily find anything in the academic literature that pointed to this, but I think that the potential for this would come in what we call nudges in behavioral economics, right? The thing that Richard Thaler had just won the Nobel Prize for recently. The idea, as the name evokes, is to have small little behavioral nudges, just to kind of nudge people towards making a better decision on their own, without necessarily needing to have some sort of like Big Brother-esque thing doing it for them, so that way that they can have better, happier, more healthy lives. And it's possible that you could use the mere exposure effect to be able to encourage those sorts of better behaviors, right? You know, similar logic could be seen in, you know, the usage of billboards for, you know, eat your vegetables or something like that. I don't know. I haven't been able to find anything specifically that could do so, but my hunch is that this would be something that you could leverage for good, but just like most scientific tools or most phenomena, its leverage for good or for evil is going to be contingent upon who's going to be doing it and to what ends they want to fashion it for. Never gonna give you up. Sorry, couldn't resist. When I read your comments, I actually literally did that, although without the fancy editing. Big Shit Bowlgate correctly ascertained that it was going to be based off of the processing fluency appeal of aesthetics, right? And that is absolutely correct. As I explained in the video, I used the term procedural. That is incorrect. It's supposed to be processing fluency, and it has been expanded into a whole bunch of different areas outside of just psychology, including in aesthetics. But he does note that perhaps the contest isn't necessarily equal because I use two drastically different characters, or the two characters that I use are fairly different and distinct. That's a fair criticism. I tried my best to make these characters to be as comparable as possible, but in my defense, one of the original replications that Zions did in order to prove the existence of the effect, or to be able to substantially show the effect, is to use Chinese characters, and these can be quite different as well. The reason I did not use Chinese characters is because I don't speak Chinese. I don't know what these characters symbolize. I don't want to have, you know, something to the effect of like I accidentally flashed chicken noodle soup at people or something offensive, and I didn't even know. So I stuck with the safer option, and that was to make up the symbols. But you're absolutely right. They weren't equal in terms of any sort of aesthetic design or anything like that. So yeah, absolutely fair point. I can understand. I almost put the Doctor Who meme, you know, don't even blink as I did that, but that would actually require a lot more work on the post-editing side than I initially thought, so I nixed that. But when I tested the video out, there were quite a few times where I blinked and missed the symbol. And I'm the one who made the dang thing. I knew when it was coming, but my eyes got too dry. So I empathize. I get where you're coming from. That's it for this week's Office Hours. Thank you guys so much for your comments and for watching. I mean it when I say that I do read all of them, and I try to include as many that I can in these videos, but for the sake of time and for my sanity trying to produce the 2 videos a week, I do have to make a cut point somewhere. You guys have been putting some fantastic suggestions in for future video topics, and if you have any more, I would love to see them. I love to have this sort of collaborative learning experience. I love the idea of me learning these topics that you're interested in, and then you learning from me. It's just super awesome and collaborative, and that to me is what science and education should be. If you have any thoughts, just drop those down in the comments section, and if you have any comments about this video, feel free to leave those down there as well. I'll be active down there, replying to you guys as best I can. If you enjoyed this video, hope you consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you want to support the channel, you can do so by commenting down below, by sharing this and other videos that you're interested in, and by subscribing to the channel to stay in the loop for more awesome social science content as uploaded. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.